Hello, clever people, and welcome to my review for Ant-Man and the Wasp. So Ant-Man and the Wasp comes to us from the director of the original Ant-Man, which came out in 2015 to stellar reviews. It was originally supposed to be directed by Edgar Wright, but after creative differences, he was fired off of the set, and I believe that he wrote the screenplay, or at least had some influence in writing the screenplay, and that movie is a ton of fun. I honestly think that it's one of the better MCU standalone movies. A lot of people don't like it. A lot of people think that it's really disjointed and unfunny, but I honestly thought that it was one of the better standalone MCU movies, and maybe even one of the better MCU movies. Speaking of the MCU, this is the 20th movie, I believe, in 10 years from Iron Man to now. They have created 20 movies, which is crazy to think about, and this one follows the story of Scott Lang, who is Ant-Man, and how he is on house arrest after the events of Captain America Civil War, and that during this time, Evangelina Lilly, who is the Wasp, teams up with Ant-Man. She gets him secretly out of the house and teams up with Ant-Man to try and find someone, is what I'll say. The trailers didn't reveal it, so I don't want to spoil it, but they're intentionally going to try to find someone, and along the way they run into this villain who goes by the name of Ghost, who can basically like morph through walls and stuff. It's really weird. It's hard to describe exactly what her powers are. You kind of do need to see them, and at the same time they're being hunted down by this one guy who he gave like Hope parts, the Evangelina Lilly, the Wasp. He gave her parts to make things for trying to find the one person. It's hard to talk about this plot because the trailers really showed nothing. But they're trying to they get parts from him, and then he tries to form an alliance with them, and they say no, so then he gets angry. He's really kind of a useless villain. He's just in there for cannon fodder, really. And that's one of Ant-Man and the Wasp's biggest issues, that entire subplot dealing with him. He is just a waste of a character. He is completely unnecessary, and the movie honestly would probably be a lot better without him. It would be much better pace-wise. It would be a lot more entertaining. I think that the movie would have just benefited if they would have cut him out and had maybe an hour and 40-minute movie rather than a 2-hour movie. How is Ant-Man and the Wasp beside that, though? It's good. It's alright. It's entertaining enough. I think that this movie really does feel like probably the least significant MCU movie that there is out there. And that's not a joke, that's not a hyperbole. It's true. This movie feels so unconsequential to the rest of the MCU, other than the post-credit scenes, really, that if it didn't exist, not a whole lot would be different. It's cool to see Ant-Man, and it's cool to see him doing more things because his powers were well explored in the first movie, and they were really entertaining. And in the second one, it just kind of felt like an unnecessary extension. The Wasp stuff was cool, having basically a version of Ant-Man that can like fly and can shoot things from their hands. I mean, it's cool. It's entertaining to see something like that, and really, the Wasp is the best part of this movie. She's a new character, she's a strong female character, she is really great, and beyond that, the movie is just alright. It's very weird structurally because it feels like the first act of the movie is about 5 minutes long because they set up your expectations incorrectly. They set it up with Scott Lang on house arrest, and you expect that to be like the first 40 minutes of the movie or so, and that other stuff would happen outside of the house but he wouldn't be involved in it. But no, in the first 10 minutes he gets out of the house magically, and the whole movie they kind of have the thing where Scott Lang is away from the house, and then he has to try to get back to the house before the people from house arrest try to come and make sure that he has to stay in his house for even longer or arrest him. And the movie spends a lot of time on that, and that subplot was okay. It just, again, it felt unnecessary, kind of like this entire movie. One of the better things about Ant-Man and the Wasp is definitely the action. It's really well shot. It's really entertaining. Unfortunately, I did see this movie in 3D, so I kind of had a headache going on during it, and I kind of had a hard time watching the action because I would get kind of motion sick. But I did also see it in RPX, which was really, really cool. And having just that great sound and the great presentation, the huge screen and everything, it made for a really entertaining experience. And another good part of this movie was the dynamic between Scott Lang and his daughter. That was something that was really strong in the first movie, and I was hoping that they would continue with that, and they did. They provided some really heartfelt scenes that really did warm you up and make you feel good. Where the movie struggles the most is in its unnecessary things, like the unnecessary subplots and its weird structural pace, but also in things towards the end of the movie revolving around Michelle Pfeiffer's character. They all felt really confusing and underexplained, and that was a really hard part of the movie because it was a part that you've been waiting explanation for a long time. And from the beginning of the movie, you're interested to see how that character went through certain things, and you don't really get the answer. And then at the end of the movie, there's this random, it's not a Deus Ex Machina really, but it's just this random thing that pops up out of nowhere that is not explained, and suddenly it works on somebody and helping them become better. I'm talking very vaguely because a lot of this is spoilery stuff, and I don't want to spoil the movie, but that felt like a really weak part of the movie. Overall, Ant-Man and the Wasp is not a horrible movie. It's okay. It's alright. It's somewhat entertaining, but really in the end, it just kind of feels unnecessary. I wouldn't say that you need to rush out to see this movie. It really just feels like it's supposed to be just a light movie after Infinity War, and it's okay for that, but beyond that, it's just kind of a waste of time. I will give Ant-Man and the Wasp a 6 out of 10. Well, anyway, that concludes my review for Ant-Man and the Wasp. So, what are your thoughts on this film, or what do you think of the first Ant-Man? Comment in the comment section below and let me know. I'm Robert Burke, and this has been The Clever Critics. Goodbye.